good morning.
All right.
All right, it is weigh-in Wednesday, isn't it? All right, honey just got done with his workout. I worked out with him. Give us the scoop on the weigh-in.
The scoop on the weigh-in. I am down 1.2 pounds.
Ooh, 1.2. Awesome, honey. Congratulations.
Thank you.
If I can hold this camera still, can you give us any insight into...
I really pushed my points this week. I went up into my max points a lot. And luckily I get points, for drinking water and for eating vegetables. So I added points daily that I could use. So even though I went over my points, I still stayed within them. I increased my healthy fats this week.
And was that satiating, or how do you feel
time.
about that?
Yeah.
Are you happy about that?
Very happy. Well, I'm glad I'm down a little bit more, but...
Yeah. I've seen you've been packing your lunches and your breakfasts on your own.
My breakfasts.
Awesome, your breakfasts.
Not on my own.
Well, pretty much. I make the food and then you pack it the next day.
You inspire me.
Yeah, but you've been really taking a lot more charge than, in the past, and that's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's about it?
That's it.
All right, great. Well, congratulations on a nice loss, 1.2. Hey guys, it is evening already. It is Wednesday. I'm sorry it took me so long to get back here, but let's do this weigh-in thing. And then I want to talk to you about something that's kind of important. Well, this is important too. My weigh-in today, I kind of figured it was going to go this way because I kind of got up and I still felt like I still had a lot of food in my gut, and I couldn't move the ring on my finger. And I thought, oh great, I'm swollen. And I worked out a couple of times yesterday, so I know my muscles are hanging on to water. Got on the scale and I was up 0.4. So I'm totally okay with that. I've had some really big losses over the past 4 weeks, and I think great if my body's going to adjust a bit, and that is great. I'm just going to stay on the track that I'm on because I'm feeling great. My blood sugar readings are looking good. Every day I'm testing and making sure. So I think I'm on the right path. So I'm going to continue going this way. Looking good. So, but what I wanted to talk to you about was I'm wondering if maybe some people who think that they are not having a blood sugar issue might be having a blood sugar issue. Now let me explain. I was listening to one of my favorite channels is called Beat Diabetes, and it's run by a man named Dennis Pollock and his beautiful wife Benedicta, and they are just such a blessing to the whole community that is struggling with high A1C numbers, whether they're type 2 diabetics or type 1 diabetics. They're just really wonderful, and they have a lot of wonderful interviews with doctors and present a lot of really good information that's really helpful. They also come up with like meal plans and things like that, and different things that you can eat to aid you in your progress. But anyway, they just make it so simple, and it has been such a blessing to find their channel. But anyway, I was watching him earlier while I was working out, and he said something to me that made me think and go to my past medical records. And that was that he was interviewing somebody, and I think it was a doctor, and he said, sometimes doctors will not actually order on a blood work panel. They will not order a hemoglobin A1C check. And the reason why is because there's some sort of an insurance issue, or it's for some reason like that, they'll leave it out, and they'll go with maybe a fasting glucose level in the morning. And the fasting glucose level can tell you some things, but sometimes it could be misleading and it doesn't tell the whole story. Maybe it might look fine, and yet you are in the pre-diabetic zone, but they won't catch that if they don't do the hemoglobin A1C test. And I thought, I wonder if I've been here before in this pre-diabetic zone that I found myself in. That's what I'm working on now. Because in the past, my numbers, my triglyceride numbers, I remember them being pretty high. So I went back into my records and I had to go back about 7 years. And I remember the time that I remember my diet and everything at the time, what I was eating. And my numbers just kind of went bonkers at this time. And when I looked at it, my triglycerides back then were 198, about 198. And now what puts me in this pre-diabetic zone is I was 193. So it was worse back then. And so I thought, wait a minute. So I looked at the rest of the order from back then, and lo and behold, the doctor did not order a hemoglobin A1C. And so he didn't catch it. I was probably pre-diabetic then and didn't know it, and then came out of it because a little while after that I went low carb, and I actually brought the triglycerides down to 88. And that's what I'm working and hoping to do now, is bring them down again. But it didn't occur to me then to ask that. And it didn't occur to the doctor at the time to order that. So I wish I would have caught that back then, because I would have known the whole picture. I would have known much more, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten into this pickle again. But one thing that's very interesting is that I've always had 20/20 vision in my life. I've never had any eyesight problems. But back then, at that time when my triglycerides were 198 and I was probably pre-diabetic, my eyesight was affected. That's when I started having a lot of problems with my eyesight right then, and I had to get glasses. And over the next year and a half or so, I had 3 graduations upward of prescriptions for my eyes. So they just went crazy downhill. And at that time, I was continuing, to bring, my triglycerides were going up. I was continuing to eat the way that I had. Sorry about the dogs barking. Anyway, and, when I look at it, I look at this is really interesting. Okay, so the triglycerides back then were 198, right? And at that time, my cholesterol was also up. And I said, well, at that time I was going to do the McDougall thing, starch solution, which works for a lot of people. But for me, it meant increasing the whole grain carbs and the starches that I had at the time. And so that would have actually made my blood sugars worse. And 2 months later, I got my blood work again, 2 or 3 months later, 2 months later, I think it was. And when I looked at my triglycerides, it went up from 198 to 212. So it actually did climb with increasing the starches. Well, that would have pushed me more into a pre-diabetic zone probably. And again, they hadn't checked the hemoglobin A1C. And so, of course, it was after that time, after that second check or so, I started to bring down the carbs a bit and eventually brought those triglycerides down to 88. But in any case, I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but if you're going to get your blood work checked, I would definitely ask the doctor if you have any concern at all about your triglycerides, to check the hemoglobin A1C and make sure that you're not in the pre-diabetic zone, and make sure that your blood sugars are looking good, because sometimes they can look good on that fasting glucose level that you do that morning. But if you don't get that 3-month report card of an A1C to let you know what the trend is, you may miss it. And I think I missed it in the past. And a lot of people might say, about your eyesight correlation. I've heard this before. Correlation does not mean causation. I understand that, but sometimes it does. It doesn't mean causation unless it does. And it has to at some point, because otherwise nothing would ever happen. Anyway, it's just real interesting. So definitely, I would look at that. And if you have your medical records and you have a question about it, I would pull them out and look and see if, maybe the number, your triglycerides were a little high, and see if that HA1C was actually ordered or not. And if not, maybe it might be something you want to discuss with your doctor about doing the next time. But anyway, that I just thought that was interesting, that I would pass that on to you guys, because it was a really big eye-opener for me. And Honey just got his blood work taken, and they didn't order it for him either. So he's going to get the blood work back, and he won't know anything about his blood sugar for the last 3 months or so. So he's going to have to actually take that or request it again. Now, I think that there is a home hemoglobin A1C test that you can take, and you send it off to a lab. And Dr. Ken Berry has a YouTube channel, and if you type in Dr. Ken Berry A1C test, I think a video will come up in which he will list the how you can order that in his description box. But anyway, we might end up doing that if I haven't ordered to go back to the doctor again to get this taken, but Honey might end up ordering it. So anyway, just wanted to let you know what was going on, and I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Love you guys a lot, and I'll see you next time. All right, here's my breakfast. I have one Olay wrap, one it's like a mozzarella stick wrapped with a sopressata, like a salami slice, and then I have 2 eggs, quarter cup of egg whites, almost a quarter of an avocado, 1/4 cup of low-fat cottage cheese, and 1 cup of berries, and some decaf coffee, which I whip in the blender to make it frothy. Okay, for lunch I'm having lettuce leaves with 1/2 cup of ground beef in it, and a tablespoon of blue cheese, and some green beans. And I'm also having some pork rinds, 1/2 ounce. And then at dinner time, I had a chicken sausage. I had like 3/4 of it, and then a salad with some of these wisps on top, 4 of them crushed up for croutons, and a little bit of the Walden Farms ranch. It's really, really good.